do not have to accept her rejection. You need to become an addiction. I don't need the kink community. I don't need classes and munches in order to get women. I don't need that. I'm way outside your realm. I'm 3,200 feet. 32,000? I'm 32,000 feet above your head.
All right, y'all. I swear to Christ. I swear to Christ. I was not looking for this content. This content found me because I must have been cursed by a witch at some point, and this is my oddly specific torture that she wanted to make me suffer. We're going to talk about alpha male doms on TikTok. And it was already bad, but it is so much worse than it was a couple of years ago. You know, when the worst thing we had to worry about was when some guy with a Tesla logo conspicuously in the background was gripping his girlfriend's wrists as a sign of dominance to impress everyone on the app. Oh, how I long for those halcyon days of yore. And actually, speaking of alpha male doms on TikTok, you remember how I said in my video about the manosphere discovering kink that we would see more and more overlap over time? And when I had a definitive example of someone in the manosphere explicitly using kink language and the kink community for their personal gain, I would talk about it. That time has come, and it was even sooner than I anticipated. So sadly, I must welcome you to the dark, twisted mind of a resident alpha male kink expert of TikTok, Alpha Dom. I mean, quite the original name we've got there. I mean, honestly, at this point, I am worried I am manifesting these guys into existence. Years ago, I used to joke as an example of like a cringy dom, right? I used to say, Master BD, if you get what I'm saying. And it was a joke. It was meant to refer to guys in dungeons that act like every sub should kiss the ground they walk on. And then it turns out there was a guy who, like, semi-ironically, but actually not ironically at all, would call himself that. And he ran an alleged cult under the guise of BDSM, and it was called the House of Cataphor. And I have been joking about alpha male doms for a little bit, and here we are again. So clearly, I am too powerful, and that witch, whoever she is, was right to curse me, and I resigned myself to my fate.
And if you were looking for better advice than what you would get from an alpha dom dating coach on TikTok, I am so excited to tell you that for the month of May, I am partnering with Beducated. Beducated is an online learning platform with over 100 pleasure-based sex education courses, and they have something for everyone on this platform. They have very foundational practices as well as more niche kink subjects that they cover, like shibari, spanking, as well as an hour-and-a-half long course on rough sex. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can check it out using the link in the description box down below, and you can use my code EVLupine at checkout to get access to over 100 courses and growing for only $8.33 a month. It is such an amazing value. These courses are great. I know that you will love it. So please check it out down below, code EVLupine at checkout. And thank you so much for supporting Beducated and for supporting this channel.
So, during this video, I'm going to endeavor to not show his username or his account or anything like that, at least not on TikTok, because as you will clearly see in the examples, he gets off on the attention. Like kind of literally gets off on the attention.
But I kind of want to show you guys. I kind of want to show you the elite level of hate that I'm that I'm dealing with. Oh, I can't. I'm trying composure. The elite levels of hate that. People are telling me I should delete all my accounts. No, dude, you're giving me all this fame. Now, it's interesting because the people that are going to get mad at this video are under my addiction as well. The people that are mad and angry at me are suffering from an addiction. They're addicted to alpha dom more than anything they've ever seen.
And he brags about getting followers after a viral video. And then he says this on one of his TikToks. It's an amazing caption. Quote, I am the psychology master, and I, for the last year, have exposed the male and female switches. You can complain, argue, and fight them, but I have puppeted you to no end to prove my point. Pawns meet chessboard. Don't talk smack if you can't agree with this. You are biased and weak, and myself and others like me will always walk you. The end. Cry. All of those typos and weird phrasings and strangeness. Can we be sure he wrote this and not AI? I am pretty sure that this actually contributes to a point that I make very shortly here in the video about the use of AI and scam techniques in the way that he makes his content. So just keep this one in your brain for later. It's fantastic.
And you know what? I don't do humiliation plea scenes for free. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to blur his face or use like some kind of funny representative, Adobe stock photo image for him. But just know that he calls himself Alpha Dom on TikTok. And that's really all you need to know as far as that's concerned. And he's actually been making videos since somewhere in 2023, I think August or earlier. And he's made a lot of videos. I'm going to say now that I didn't watch all of them, but I have seen at least a dozen or so, and I feel pretty confident making an assessment based on that, so leave a comment now saying I'm taking things out of context. Be my guest. He bills himself as an alpha male professional dating coach, promising that you don't need money or looks to attract women. And, sure, yeah, that's true. It's not all about looks or money, but since he is at least manosphere adjacent, even if he doesn't use that label directly, you know that there's some kind of catch coming. And the catch would be this. He uses BDSM as a way to attract and keep women and suggests that other men do the same. Because women secretly crave dominance, and if you tap into that, you'll always have them lining up around the block to be able to sleep with you. Fantastic start. And I have seen my fair share of alpha male content in my time. I'm something of a cringe connoisseur in that department. Even stuff that gets into kink or BDSM. So what is this guy offering that is so novel and unique on the platform? Okay, well, it does look like he has a course, and that's pretty, par for what we see here. And oh my Lord, oh Jesus Christ, it is all AI generated. Of course it is. We are truly in the darkest timeline at this point. AI generated alpha male dom online dating courses. What will they think of next? And it's at this point with the name and the website and everything else going on, you have to wonder, is this guy for real? Does he believe what he says? Or is this some kind of giant semi-ironic grift? And other content creators who are not in the kink community have generally been led to believe, or they have the conclusion at least, that this simply can't be real and he must be lying. And he's lying about being kinky and how many women he's seeing and his body count and all of that. And I'm not saying that's not a possibility. I'm going to keep that one on board for now, but I think what he's doing is much more like a Nigerian email scam than simply being deceitful. I'm telling you this now before I show you any of his actual TikToks in full, because I want you to have that in your mind as you're watching. Yes, I am biasing the jury, I suppose. You'll probably pick up on it too as we go along. His videos, just like his website, are almost intentionally low effort. They're all covered in these crappy AI-generated captions that are full of errors. His content has these weird editing mistakes that he's left in.
Not to mention that the view-to-like ratio on his most popular TikToks, as well as the way that his account is growing, seems to indicate that either he is one of the most popular hate sinks on the entire platform, or something shady is going on here.
I think he cares a lot about attention and uses any and all press to maybe find the 0.01% of people who will buy his crappy courses that could have literally just been free YouTube videos. It's the same way he treats Tinder. It's a simple numbers game. Who cares if he gets a 1% return rate on his 100,000 matches? That's an actual number he uses, by the way. There's still 1,000 women who allegedly went on a date with him, at least. I can think of another YouTuber who has made similar claims actually about their body count and success. And I don't think that things are currently going too well for them, so
Again!
I'm not sure that's a basket I'd want to put all of my vegan eggs in. So I think it's possible he drinks his own Kool-Aid and maybe hams it up for the camera, but unfortunately, I have simply met way too many people like him who are totally serious to believe this is 100% bait. I think it's possible this is actually a legit person who's trying to make money on something they really do and they're really bad at it, but it doesn't mean that they're not kinky. I'm sad to say, but you be the judge of that. And speaking of bait, I've been teasing you all for long enough, haven't I? You want to know what this man, this alpha dom, has to say in his own words, don't you? Well, be careful what you wish for, my dear audience, because I'm about to give you the first impression that I just had. You don't have to accept her rejection.
You do not have to accept her rejection. I'm a professional dating coach and I teach guys how to understand the female mind.
And just initially, right off the top, right? This gives me a weird vibe. And it's not just in the passive-aggressive, insecure co-manager of a Pizza Hut kind of energy that he gives off. It's when he does his little smile when he says the intro line. It's like he's going, I really got them this time. They're going to fall for my trap. Because he expects people to get triggered by that first line and then stop listening to what he's saying so that way he can go, you didn't listen to my whole TikTok. But don't worry, Alpha Dom. I know you're watching this. I know you're watching me watch you. And I'm sitting my butt down and listening. So what does he have to say next?
Now, if you're one of the people that haven't applied anything in my course or my videos or anything like that, this video is not for you. This is an advanced technique. This is for the people that have the course, have my videos, are applying it, seeing results, and eventually I'm going to put this in the course. I just don't have the time right now, so I'm releasing it now. You don't have to accept her rejection. Now, here's an example. I was talking to a girl, and she said, I'm not really interested. And I, instead of just going, okay, and then just turning away, I did this. Why would you not be interested in me? I'm the best. Absolutely the best. And she's like, oh, how? I'm like, well, you'd have to come over to my house to find out. And you'd also have to be okay with kink, and you'd also have to be okay with my mastery of the ropes and the fact I have multiple women. And actually, maybe not. Maybe you wouldn't be the best for me. And now I did turn it around at the end, but I could have left that part out and still got her to start bantering back and forth, and she did.
And I would say there's about a 5% chance he's actually said this exact thing to a woman and it's gotten her to come home with him. It would be a woman who doesn't have much dating experience probably or has absolutely no sense of self-preservation, which, oh God, might be the exact kind of person he's trying to target. So why wouldn't that be the case? He does the same Nigerian email scam test with the women he wants to date as much as he does with the people that want to buy or could want to buy his courses. And that is exactly what it is. Remember, with every alpha male dude, every accusation is a confession.
She started going back and forth with me, and I started building attraction in that because now I had sidestepped her rejection. Granted, keep in mind, I didn't force it. I didn't say, no, you're no. I just played into her a little game. I knew she was playing with me a little bit or just kind of disengaging, and I gave her a little bit of fun. You want to know what I did with her later?
They accuse women of crap tests, and they are actually the ones who are always doing it themselves, like constantly all the time in relationships, because they see it as a tit for tat. They want to test who they can scam. Folks, this is why I tell you to play in public venues rather than going home with the first person you match with who promises to make you feel so amazing, little kitten. And just anything like that gives me the heebie-jeebies, truly. And I'm pretty sure that he's a scammer. And so all of these women that he claims to date and all of these uber amazing kink skills he claims to have could be an aspect of that scam. And absolutely, by the way, zero people who are serious, highly skilled riggers call it mastering ropes.
You'd also have to be okay with my mastering the ropes and the fact I have multiple women. And
I practice rope bondage maybe, or I'm trying to master the art of shibari. Even sure, that would be kind of heady, but people say it that way sometimes. I have literally never heard this phraseology except for from complete newbies who show up to a munch and then start bragging about all the sailing knots they know and think it's going to impress people. And has he ever even been to a rope jam? I don't know. He probably thinks rope jam is something that you put on rope as part of a food play scene. But moreover, the fact he thinks a rejection is just playing a game he can sidestep with his own game is creepy as anything. Just no, dude. Trust me. I can tell from here that most women who reject you are trying to leave as soon as possible and trying to shove your foot in the door with some bragging about how kinky, dominant, blah, blah, blah that you are. It's so cringy, and it will turn off pretty much any legitimately kinky woman in the scene because we all know that is not how this works. It is so messed up that people will try to play games with what is essentially boundary setting. Do you want to know what's actually hot? A person who takes a no on the chin doesn't try to force a conversation with some cheap, humble brags about how kinky they are and how much you're really missing out, and then they leave it there. Why are you trying to convince me of how cool you are? Shouldn't that just be self-evident? I feel like that's mostly been the case with people I know that are actually good, cool people. So that's my first impression. But why leave it there? We have so much time, and it also wouldn't be fair. Maybe that was just a joke, or it was a really extreme statement because he likes to trigger people and he wanted to go viral, and maybe that isn't really reflective of his genuine beliefs. So let's see what else he has to say about kink specifically and find out if it's less severe, maybe. So, okay, it looks like he did a reaction video to someone doing primal dom stuff, so let's look at that one.
Yeah, we don't know anything about that. Maybe we should.
no, not choking. My weakness, the thing I can't do. Only vanilla people, know about that and do that too. Oops, sorry, my bad.
And okay, so initially here we are on the right track-ish, sort of. I wouldn't have taken the same tact he did, but I do admit that this is one of my personal pet peeves as well. As someone who first and foremost in kink identifies as primal, like literally the first label I ever knew about or used for myself that really resonated with me was primal, the TikTokification of that identity and basically using it as shorthand for fancy choking with somebody who has long hair is very annoying to me. And if he is such an expert dom, his next step is going to be to correct that false assumption of what primal play is, right? Maybe give some examples of other ways to engage in primal play, how it goes beyond choking, and...
Anyways, he's a specimen. Can we all agree on that? He is like Nord God. Now, keep in mind what I say about looks and what looks end up getting you. Does anybody want to iron, by the way? Like a crazy urge to iron? Anyways, so, I sure hope he's not wasting his looks on one girl. Because honestly, that couldn't be me.
2 girls and zip ties. That's about as kinky as I can get on TikTok, probably, before they take stuff down. But it also keeps them anonymous because I don't want to ruin their lives, Some people are mean and don't understand what it's like to be a submissive.
So what did we learn? Stepping alpha dom's not a good idea. Anyways, that's tame, by the way. I have videos on my phone from when I had 12 girls instead of the 6 before I realized that 12 was way too much headache and putting out fires and stuff. Of them all doing stuff.
Ooh, that is a swing and a miss. Nothing shows how much of a master of ropes alpha dom you are, trying to flex on internet strangers. Whew, okay, I'm sorry, but are we really trying to say, oh, I'm so much kinkier than you, instead of choking one woman like a simp? I have 2 women, or 12, or 6, or however many make me seem cool in the moment, and they will sit and kneel for me. That's a big get, right? The true ultimate kink expression. And like, sorry to say, but it's really not that hard to get a woman who wants to be submissive to kneel and say something. This is why newbie subs who are desperate for a crumb of dominant energy, genuine or otherwise, get taken advantage of so often. Because they basically dominate themselves. So cringe, but nice try. I am a submissive, and I could literally sit here right now and say, kneel for me. And like, 5 people just had the instinct to be like, oh, I should probably kneel. But okay, let's be really charitable now. Maybe he's better with his other content. So what else does he talk about besides kink? Body language analysis, of course. Telling you which parts of the body are the most honest. And I'm not going to dwell on this one too much because the science of body language analysis is not that much of a science. It's more like chiropractic. And if you're using it like some kind of proven universal methodology for attracting women, everything you say after that should be suspect. Now, his other favorite topic is discussing, this is how he would say it, his women. And he talks about how he has these 6 girls and they're all 8s and 9s in terms of looks and status. He brags about their jobs and how much they love him and how addicted to him they are and how much they think he's better than all of the other options on the dating market. And, naturally he's polyamorous, more like he has a harem, but, I guess that's better than bragging about secretly dating 6 women simultaneously without them knowing. But, well, since he is allegedly very kinky, of course, his dating has to be that way too. I'll just let him describe his dynamic, and then we'll talk about it.
Somebody asked this question, and it was, how does my dynamic work? You have me at the top, and then you have alpha submissive, which is Brat. That's the one girl I do show on my profile. She's very interested in being shown on my videos and being on my profile, and she has no fucking reservations, stuff like that. Then you have Beta, who's under her. Actually, let me backtrack a little bit because I got ahead of myself. Alpha is my right-hand girl. She helps train all the other girls with me, and then Beta helps Brat train all the other girls when I am not around. So if I'm on a business trip, if I'm traveling for work, which is quite fucking often, she trains the other girls and helps because she's been through extensive training on how to train, how to dom, stuff like that. Alpha and beta ranks cannot see any other guy or see anybody outside of the dynamic. That's just how it works. They knew that going in when they started training for that role. That's how it works. Lower ranks, however, can go do whatever they want. I really don't care as long as it's safe and they're not jeopardizing and possibly not pressing, but spreading STDs. If they have safe sex, that's applies to everybody in my dynamic. However, what they tell me is that why would we go out and date other guys when the male dating pool is so horrid? It's part of the reason why I'm actually teaching you guys how to be better at dating, because of what they said. And then they fall under Brat and are Beta. That's how my dynamic works. It's pretty cool.
Does it sound like a high schooler level fantasy to anyone else, what he's saying in this? And maybe I am simply outing myself here because I was one of those people who accidentally did some lighter kinky stuff when they were a teenager without realizing it. It was not on purpose. But this sounds exactly like what I would expect a 17-year-old wannabe future dom to have said while trying to describe their ideal relationship framework. Like, yeah, I want to have one girl who's my right hand, and I want to have another girl that helps her, and they both train these girls, and then there's 3 more girls under that, and it's kind of like a pyramid scheme, but it's for a relationship, and like, I just basically want to have a harem, and like, that's like so unusual and so weird, right? This is like the hamburger helper meme of kink fantasies. Like, he acts in the comments like the average person would lose their mind if they could see one day in his life. Like, if you sign an NDA, I'll let you into my secret world. But ends up coming off as like very try hard and just like so cringe. And again, House of Cataphor type energy as well. Like I said, I am not one of those people who is totally convinced he's lying about all of this and that he has never touched a woman. I think, unfortunately for everyone involved, he probably has. I'm not saying it's not a possibility, but I have actually met people like this, and the ex-partners they have then left in their wake, and it is not as outlandish as it might seem on the surface. It doesn't make it seem happy, though. Like, that's something I noticed with a lot of his videos and the way that he talks about his relationships, at least on TikTok, which is not a full picture of anyone's relationship. But there's no, like, genuine joy in them. Like, it just feels like a hollow accomplishment of, like, I unlocked the highest tier of women. I figured out how to game the system to access only the hottest, most valuable ladies. But his vibe, even if he has unlocked the like highest tier of masculine success, like he seems to me sad, angry, unfulfilled, which is I think what people are picking up on. And that's why they assume that he must be lying when he says that he's dating all these women. But I think a lot like Andrew Tate and like so many other people who are in the realm of the manosphere close to it, he hasn't really grappled with the fact that dating 3, 6, a dozen women hasn't actually made him a happier person. It hasn't made him content with life. Sure, if this is real, he may be living it up every weekend in the bedroom, but a full bedroom does not make for a full contented life. And I can say that because, unlike many people commenting on this, I am polyamorous. I have multiple partners. This is not me being a monogamous woman and freaking out about having to, think about maybe sharing a high value man. All I know is that the people I know who talk about their relationships and talk about power exchange especially, they don't just emphasize how many subs they have. They don't just talk about like, oh, well, I have a sub who's a doctor and a lawyer and a blah, blah, blah. They don't really care too much about that because it's all pretty commonplace. They talk about how they've grown together as a couple. They talk about how they've become better people together in a group. They talk about their adventures and the joy that they have in their lives besides just what happens in the bedroom. And Alpha Dom dude here, he doesn't really ever talk about any of that, which, I mean, you don't have to have a relationship like that. It can just be for fun, and maybe he's deciding to keep some stuff private. But long-lasting submission needs to have more stuff behind it than just a few party tricks, which I would hope he'd know because at least one of his submissives has supposedly been collared. Yeah, collared since 2020. Because, somehow this guy has a collared sub. And I am sure this timeline is purely a coincidence, but he also got divorced in 2018, and it was because he really wanted his wife to allow him to open the marriage they had, and his ex-wife now didn't want that at the time, and so they divorced because he tried to force his wife to be polyamorous, and then in under 2 years, he had collared a submissive. That is quite the feat.
Did you notice the necklace? Interesting. So what you're telling me is that you think that I don't even know what that amount would be, for her to wear that necklace like, pretty much 24/7. And then keep in mind I have 5 other girls that also wear that.
Hey, editing Evie here. Real quick, I did not catch this for some reason when I was recording or getting ready for making the video. I didn't realize that he had collared all 6 of his girlfriends. Like, that's the House of Cataphor comparisons just keep building up. It truly is wild. I don't know anyone in the kink community, including masters that have literally been in the scene for 40 years, that have that many collared submissives. So red flags are going off here for sure.
Oh boy. Just gotta let you know, she's been wearing it since 2020. Next rumor is that there's actually quite a few around the divorce, which is weird because I've talked about my divorce in multiple videos and almost every single live I've ever done. Do you know what uncontested means? Means I didn't fight it. Actually, by this date, April 2nd, 2018, I already had 3 girls. Let's see, Nana, Lisa, and we'll call her S because that one's still with me and I don't want to out her to her profession. But anyways, so another rumor, swing and a miss. I was divorced, and to be fair enough, it was both of our fault, but mostly fell on me because I tried to force a relationship poly. I was like, yeah, I want to open the marriage. Yeah, and that exploded because she wasn't all that poly. Well, kind of. I'll make a bigger video on it.
And he actually made a YouTube video with this girl who is wearing his collar. And that just gives me more evidence that he's not really lying about all of this, like a lot of other commentators have said. And I'm not going to go over the full video that he made, but I do want to give my general impressions of it because it is a piece of cinema. I will say that. I will also, again, when I'm talking about this, I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to be as charitable as possible. And I'm going to start out by saying that there are a few things in his video that I did agree with. I know, shocker. He talks about having friends who can double check your blind spots in relationships and also leaning into your submissives and allowing them to make choices sometimes, allowing them to be in the decision process when you want them to be. And those are ideas that I can really get behind regardless of who is saying it. But you also have to admit there were several things in the video that I found to be concerning. Like, he doesn't do first dates in public, supposedly. Like, his first standard date is allegedly having a group BDSM scene that he calls an intake, and the new girl comes over to a stranger's house and then immediately gets a collar slapped on them and handcuffed. And I shouldn't have to say this, but oh my, wow, giant neon red flag happening there. Wee woo, lights going off.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Does that work for some people? I am sure it does, but you would have to be pretty ignorant about the kink community and what they usually advise to walk into that without thinking twice about it. And oh wait, it also turns out that the girl who was collared on camera in this video was new to dating apps when this happened and was also new to kink and was more attracted to the partner he shared a profile with than to him. So I am going to run out of red flags to hold up for this one, but I have to find a few more because he also mentions that he likes to tie her up and leave her in a room for long periods of time while bound as a good way to build anticipation and getting her to basically get to the edge by herself. And this is doubly concerning when you pair it with some of the other things he has said in other videos. Like, there's one where he directly advocates lying to women to try to get them to hang out with him alone in private.
Going off the last video, ask a girl, can I get your number? She said, no, I just got out of a relationship and I don't know if I'm ready to date or whatever. And I handed her my phone and said, go ahead, type it in. It'll be fine. We can get Chardonnay. We can talk like girlfriends and talk about your old relationship with this guy. We're not going to do that, but it's going to be okay. Another example. Once again, not forcing it, not being super aggressive. She can say no again, which at that point I would have disengaged. But guess what she didn't do? Didn't say no. And that was the first time it happened. And then I did it again and again and again and again and again. And most of them ended up coming over my house, ended up sleeping with me. You just got to know how to do it correctly.
Like, why do all of these alpha male people have to lie to women all the time about their intentions? Like, they say stuff like, oh, sure, let's talk about your day. Let's play Mario Kart together. Let's go to this cool restaurant I know that just happens to be across the street from my house. And then they get surprised when they do that. And then over time, when they see older women, they start acting cagey and suspicious by default, and they end up having too many walls for their liking. I mean, I sure hope that he was not combining this deceit with doing hardcore BDSM as his first date, because, oh, if that was what he was doing, super, super, super sus, my dude, so sus. The only saving grace he has for doing that in the first place at all was that he insisted in that YouTube video that he put in like so much prep work, and he wasn't talking about everything that he was doing as his steps in that video, and that he does a lot to make sure that the girls are not being traumatized. So which is it? Are we promising to talk over wine and then doing anything else but that for a first date? Or is our standard first date a quasi-consensual group kink scene? Or is it both? Because that's very concerning. That's very worrying to me. And all of this together got me wondering, this is the exact profile of the kind of guy who'd go to a BDSM party like 2 times, and he would do something creepy, and then he would get kicked out and told to never come back. Or he would at least be the sort of man who would insist that he's a real dom and is better than the stupid BDSM community with their made-up rules that just ruin the real kink experience. And probably, likely also both. So, to finish up this red flag festival, what does this guy think about the kink community? Place your bets now!
The kink community is a cancer-riddled occult that isn't going or growing or evolving at all.
First, wait, what the heck did he say there at the start?
The kink community is a cancer-riddled occult.
The kink community is a cancer-riddled occult cult. Like, be serious, my dude. Please put in some effort. I know that refilming things is hard, but you gotta do it sometimes. But moving on, I find it very funny that he says in this that the kink community is not growing. Like, citation, please. Are you organizing munches or conventions? Do you volunteer? Do you even go to parties? Because just about the opposite is actually happening. The community is getting bigger every year. More and more people are discovering kink and going to events for the very first time, which I think is a great thing. I think that's super positive. But he seems to have a problem with it, though, because...
Here's one of the biggest issues about the kink community. You guys are completely unaware. You're completely unaware that hot women do not want to have anything to do with you. There's a reason why so many hot, sexy women that people assume are prostitutes flock to me and my kink knowledge. And I'm going to teach you guys some things. Here's the thing. When you are an 8 or a 9 and you are walking through life and everybody is giving you attention, the last thing you want is more attention. However, when an 8 or 9 enters anything within the kink community, you guys crowd them feel that feeling. Whether it's the people leading this, clinging to them, whether it's the actual members, you guys make their skin crawl. So much so that when I run into a girl that's kinky and I went to a few events, and then to me, it's easy. It's easy for me to make them one of my submissives.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Again!
Let's play it back. He thinks the community isn't growing because of how hot women specifically are being treated. And we, as a community, are ignorant to that fact, and we don't realize that we are scaring away all of these beautiful women like, okay then, sample size of 6, I'm gonna guess. As I have said like 50 bajillion times before on this channel, the kink community is a cross-section of society. We're going to see all kinds of people of all different levels of attractiveness, and it's also very insular. It's also very local in a lot of ways as well. So if your local munch or dungeon or whatever is ran by a 50-year-old sleazeball who treats it like a hunting ground for new young members of his harem, that's going to be bad. But it doesn't have to be like that. It's not universally true, and it's not something that we as a community are ignorant of. I have been in the room when we have had classes and discussion groups about how to make our community spaces more welcoming for more people. How many other hobby groups can you think of that can say that they do the same thing, that take the level of seriousness that it requires to address things. And, you know, the one thing that consistently makes it better is creating groups that are ran by and for certain age demos rather than it being a giant harem funnel. And I'm going to tell you though, it is not just these alleged 8s and 9s being pushed out of the community. It's men not knowing how to interact with women, both submissive men and dominant men, going after all levels of attractiveness in women, at least according to what I imagine he thinks an 8 or a 9 is. I have been a social DM. I have seen the kinds of conversations I have had to step into because I could tell the person that was on the receiving end of that was uncomfortable. It is not just the lawyer supermodels, all right? I do find it funny that he's like, yeah, the problem is women getting hit on by a guy too much at a munch. And that's why I tell women it's much better to just go over to my house directly and then immediately get handcuffed as soon as that she walks in through the door. Like, I am sure it is to his advantage in a very cynical way to convince people, women he wants to date especially, who haven't ever been to a munch before, that the BDSM community is dangerous and ignorant and stupid. And he's not. He's safe. He's good. He's got all these skills.
The kink community wants to talk about how they're so observant and how they can notice things. You guys don't notice what's under your own nose, okay? There's a lot of reasons why I absolutely can't stand the kink community. And I love when people threaten me on TikTok, like, you're going to be barred and I don't need the kink community. I don't need classes and munches in order to get women. I don't need that. I'm way outside your realm. I'm 3,200 feet. 32,000? I'm 32,000 feet above your head. You have no control over my life. I know you want to because that's what is taught in the kink community. We'll make a video on that in a bit. But if you guys want to get better, the kink community wants to get better, stop crowding and clinging whenever a hot girl walks in the door.
Does someone have a red flag I can borrow? Because, I'm all out and we really need to put one in the ground here. But these are just his thoughts, right? Why go to all this trouble for some guy having wrong opinions out loud? Because he is, say it with me, folks, selling a course. Do you want to guess how much it is? $50? $100? $200. That is right. For the price of going to a whole buttload of BDSM convention classes, you can instead get several dozen more questionably edited card TikToks for the low, low price of $197. And despite the fact that he's such an alpha male dom, none of the courses that he lists on his website seem to be about BDSM scenes, so, thank God for small miracles, right? Okay, maybe the curse from the witch wasn't too bad after all. And I would talk about what's in the course, but Jarvis Johnson already did that, and I am not paying over $100 to reinvent the wheel there. If you want to watch his video, please go do that. I'll have a link down below. But we all know already, it's not going to be worth it. But in case you are dying to know what kinds of exclusive skills he's offering to teach you, let's just take a little look here and, oh no, having to read this should be a violation of the Geneva Convention. This is what the Alpha Dom Lord of Kinkiness on TikTok thinks good texting is? My lord, I am asexual and submissive, and I know better than this, and I knew better than this when I was in college. And it's funny because even in the examples where there is effort in them, it is almost always entirely coming from the girls. Because I guess text flirting isn't his forte, but then again, what is? Because I don't think scientific literacy is one either. Oh, we're talking about this now. On the same page, these examples are from, he says the following, quote, above is just a tiny glimpse of the women who appreciate sharing a high-value male. It's essential to understand that this inclination is inherent in their nature. The synchronicity of their menstrual cycles when they are in close proximity is evidence of this innate tendency. It underscores the idea that women are naturally predisposed to sharing a high-value individual, whether male or female. I mean, I guess you can share a femdom. Okay, a little bit more progressive, but just one thing. We've known for a while that women's periods don't sync. That's a myth. Data from Clue and other research has shown that periods do not get closer together whether they are sharing a man or a woman or sharing a house or sharing a dorm or anything like that. So no, it's not evidence that women magically, naturally all want to share one guy because their periods sync up, because it's not a thing that happens. Given, I don't know if he even knows this page says this, because the rest of the website is very much something driven by AI content, and I don't know if he realizes what is actually said on these pages. But let's get down to brass tacks for a moment, shall we? I am done torturing all of you with examples. Praise me for my beneficence. At this point, we know what's going on here. This is an alpha male who is trying to sell you the idea that it's super hard to get kinky women, and he thinks that you should pay him to help you be part of some exclusive, mysterious club where you can become a dom and lure in all these women. And that is not true. And ironically, he kind of proves how true it is. It doesn't take talent to lie to women who don't know better, who are so inexperienced with kink and dating apps that they think getting collared by a guy in private on a first date is normal. It is not a rare skill to be able to exploit sub-frenzy or subspace, which is exactly what I fear is happening. And when you are ramping up newbies with tons of text-based foreplay first, and then plunging them headfirst into private play, what do you think is going to happen? It doesn't make you some kind of dating expert to figure that out. It makes you dangerous. I've known plenty of women in the community and online who have shared obvious horror stories about fake doms they've met on dating apps, a lot of whom they at least gave a first chance to because they were so desperate to be submissive. They would have knelt for a 2x4 if someone sprayed it in cologne first and played a tape recorder of some boyfriend ASMR behind it. Men know this. Crappy alpha male wannabes especially. That's why they go for the kink thing. They know that desperate submissives are oftentimes weak targets, that they can be easier to manipulate, and they can be easily impressed because the rules of kink interactions are different than vanilla ones. And this is doubly the case when they are isolated from a community because they have been told it is bad and toxic and that they will have a bad time there. And for women who do stick around in these relationships, they are oftentimes very deeply hurt by these men. And it is not an accomplishment to make a scared newbie think that you are the only safe, experienced dom who is worth having. It is sad. And that's what I feel when I see this person. They give me bad energy. And I've been around long enough to hone my gut and learn when to listen to it. While I wish I could laugh it off like everyone else, this just reminds me too much of all of the crappy ex-doms I've been told about. The ones who leave their subs in pieces when they're done playing with them. So, if you ever find yourself matching on a dating app with a guy like this, please don't go to his house. And maybe ask him where he got his kink information from. So that is what I wanted to share in this video today, y'all. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I know it was quite the ride, I am sure, but hopefully worth it. I have seen, at this point now, I thought I was doing something unique, and then I got done writing it, and then I realized that like 5 other like mainstream content creators had covered this that were very, very big, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to seem like I'm taking an idea, but I promise I thought I was being more original than this. But let me know what you all think. I think I am probably the only person on YouTube that can cover this from a female submissive, like kink educator, polyamorous perspective. Like I am, in a lot of ways, the perfect antidote to this kind of content. So I hope that it was worth it. I Oh, I just went through a flurry writing this when I found out about it. It was like, oh, we're gonna address this. And by the way, Mr. Alpha Dom, if you have watched to this point, congratulations. I hope it made you mad that I didn't share your username or your face. So, sorry, but not really. It worked, I guess. Anyways, for all the rest of you watching that are not Alpha Dom, actually, you know what, Alpha Dom, if you want to, leave me a comment. You're welcome down there. I'm not going to block you or anything. I am okay having you comment whatever your feelings are, because I'm sure you're having some of them. But in any case, everyone can leave a comment down below as long as you are polite and respectful. Let me know what you're thinking and feeling. And if you know of any other alpha doms on TikTok I need to be aware of and, maybe investigate a little bit, let me know. And thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy this and already, please do subscribe because I make videos twice a week about all sorts of different kink and BDSM related content. And finally, if you want to support what I do, the best way you can do that is with Patreon. Link to that will be down below. If you do already support me there, thank you so much. It means the absolute world to me. And until I see you all next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.